Well, hello there out there in Podcast Nation. This is the Recovery Atheist coming to you, and I am so excited that you're able to join me today. Hope everyone's doing well out there. Decided I would do a podcast tonight. Real excited to do one. Everything with me is going well. Don't have any issues going on right now. Life is good. Job is going well. The training's going well. No issues there. So life is good. I cannot complain about what life is like today. So tonight's subject that I decided I was going to get into was conspiracy theories. Now, little story to give you for a backdrop. I was in treatment with an individual who was my roommate who is a huge conspiracy nut. Just talked nonstop about conspiracies. And the biggest one that he's on is QAnon. And I'm sure some of you out there might know what QAnon is. I knew a little bit about it. I know a lot more about it because I was in treatment with him. So I got the lowdown on it. But I thought I'd talk a little bit about that and some other conspiracy theories and some other thoughts that I have. So, QAnon is this huge conspiracy theory group. They have a bunch of different things that they say that they believe, and they're a little far-fetched, if you ask me. Pretty much, they have a belief that the Democrats are a satanic group of people that are killing people, and they're a huge pedophile ring that has actors, musicians, politicians, so on and so forth, that are involved in these child trafficking rings of pedophilia. No proof to any of it. They just believe that. So here are some of the beliefs that QAnon has that I find extremely interesting that they actually believe this bullshit. So when you hear someone talk about QAnon and they start throwing out all their little, tantrums about certain things that they believe, I want you to know some of them so you can get kind of an idea of where they're coming from. They report that there's politicians that have been executed for treason against the country. This includes Hillary Clinton, George Bush Sr., George Bush Jr. President Biden is not the real President Biden. He has actually been replaced by a reptilian race who is in charge of the world. They do. They believe in the reptilian world. They believe that there are reptilians that are on this planet that are able to mimic being human. Yeah, that's not a joke. They truly believe that. And I'll get back to some of that in a little bit. Donald Trump, they believe he'll be put back in office by the end of 2022. The voter fraud will come out as being true, and everything will be set in its place, and Trump will be put back in office. There's also a belief that there will be a release of a huge amount of money to the American citizens because of Democratic fraud. The IRS no longer exists because of it. Let's see here. They believe that masks are definitely to take civil rights away. You don't get to wear masks. Why? Because they believe COVID is a hoax to control people and reduce the world's population. They believe the whole thing is a hoax. They believe that there's concentration camps where people are being held against their will, being killed off because supposedly they have COVID, extreme COVID. Now, the biggest thing that they go through and they believe is something called the cabal. That is, the huge democratic conspiracy where there are worshipers, Satan worshipers, murderers, child molesters, All of them liberals, including actors, musicians, politicians. So the cabal is their main belief. That's what they believe the most in, which is so far-fetched. They had a situation that happened a few years ago. You might have heard of it, called Pizzagate, about this pizza place that supposedly, in the basement of this place, they had a pedophile ring going on where actors and directors and politicians would go and do these horrible crimes to these children, including a video possibly of Hillary Clinton torturing this girl, even though there's no proof of any of it. But supposedly there's a video of it, but you can't find it. So if that's the case, on the deep web, I guess, would be the only place that you'd be able to find it. But even there, you can't. You're not hearing of any of that. So there's no basis to what they're saying. Second, the place that they said this was happening doesn't have a basement. There's no basement. And they're like, well, that's just been covered up. There used to be a basement. No, the actual building plans for the place, the blueprints, there was never a basement there. There's no proof of any of Pizzagate whatsoever. They believe the German chancellor, right now, who's in charge of Germany, Angela Merkel, that she's Adolf Hitler's granddaughter. That's a interesting take. They believe that possibly JFK is alive. They definitely believe that JFK Jr., the one that died in the airplane crash, is alive. In fact, they had made a prediction, QAnon did, that in Dallas this year, JFK would show up there, JFK Jr. would show up in Dallas, and there was actually people that went there who were QAnon followers for that to happen, and it never happened. They're really good at making these predictions that never, ever happen. I mean, this stuff is far-fetched. We want to talk about religion and how religious organizations like the Mormons, Scientology, Jehovah's Witness, how insane they are with their theories and what they believe in. This is some really whacked out shit. Vaccines are bad. They're microchipped. They keep control of you, and they also control the population of the children and what happens with the children. There's lots of anti-vaxxers that want to talk about autism happening from vaccinations, things of that nature. They also, back in the day when COVID was getting ramped up, they would drink an industrial bleach called MMS as a miracle cure for COVID. Again, everything that I'm saying right now, you can go online and find all of this. It's not a joke. All of it is here. I have never seen anything. So here I am, I'm in treatment, and I move in with this guy, and he is just going off about all of this. And I had to hear it every night, and I'm just like, dude, you're whacked out. There's no way that you believe this, right? And I have never seen someone so brainwashed and duped. Okay, and the website he's getting all this information from, he showed it to me, and I looked at it and went into their disclosures that they have for the website. And in the website, it says right there that it is for entertainment purposes only. It's a satire website. It is a joke website. And his comment about that, when I called him on that, was, well, they have to say that because they'd be getting sued all the time. No, there's freedom of speech. If it was true, they have the right to put that out there as evidence, but none of it is true evidence. None of it is believable. I mean, this is a guy that believed that George Floyd is still alive and he's in protective custody, and that the guy who tried to kill him, Derek Chauvin, was a robot. He literally said that to me one night. And I just looked at him like, are you kidding me? Unreal. I've never seen anything like it. Other conspiracy theories that really gets to me. Flat earthers. Now, I did an episode about this already that you can go back and listen to. But they want to say that all the videos and the photos of the earth are all fake. That all the astronauts, the whole entire NASA, the thousands and thousands of people that work for them, it's all a cover-up. It's all fake. Now, to me, I look at that as somebody would eventually say something if it was fake. And there's not. There's no evidence of that. They don't have any kind of a flat earth model, a map that works with what we observe in nature, the sun, the moon. The biggest one is eclipses. How does eclipses work on a flat earth? Why are we flat when you look around us, all the planets and the moons and the stars, and they're all circular. They're all sphere-shaped. How is that possible? And then we're the only ones that are flat? That it makes no sense to what flat earthers believe. And again, I did a whole episode on that. Another one that gets to me, 9/11. If you believe that 9/11 was because of bin Laden and those puny little Taliban that were over in Afghanistan, if you truly believe that they're the ones that were able to fly those planes and do all of that, you need to do some research and look into it. I mean, after all, the United States had bin Laden in custody a couple months before the whole thing went down, and he was looked at as one of the most wanted terrorists in the world. And they let him go. They let him go. Some politicians were also warned not to fly the day before. They were warned not to fly the next day. Condoleezza Rice called a friend of hers in California who is a mayor. They've got the phone call records and all of that where she warned him, do not fly tomorrow. She knew ahead of time. Planes, the military planes in Washington were sent hundreds of miles away for a flight thing that they were doing there, exercise, at the exact same time that all this was going on, to where they couldn't get back to the Pentagon in time to be able to help out with what happened there. Again, interesting. George Bush at the time, he was in Florida at the elementary school. You look at that, he sat there through both planes hitting and never once got up and thought it might be a security risk, because they knew, I mean, his schedule was out there. Everyone knew he was at that school. He didn't get up and have them run him out and get him into protective custody. No, they just let him sit there and continue to do what he was doing. That doesn't seem right. That seems a little off. Now, the biggest thing that I look at, like the buildings, for one, the way they fell, it fell in free fall, which means that there was no obstruction as they fell. It just fell straight down into a nice little rumble pile like a demolition. So a lot of people feel it was a demolition. In fact, a lot of people reported, and you'll hear it on news reports as well if you go back and look at the video footage, that they heard other multiple explosions that were going on before the buildings fell. Okay, these are little tidbits that if you put two and two together, things start looking odd. Now, this is the biggest thing that sticks out to me about the whole thing, is that when this was all going on, OPEC and the oil companies were wanting to put a pipeline right through Afghanistan, through the Taliban, the Holy Lands, down to the ocean to be able to get it out and be able to ship it out. Well, the Taliban would not give them permission to build the pipeline through their lands. It's their holy lands. They didn't want a pipeline going through. So they were going to have to build it around Afghanistan. It was going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars to do this, to build around it. Well, the buildings came down. We invaded Afghanistan. They eventually, did what they had to do there, and they put a president in there, an ambassador in there. The man that they put in there used to be on OPEC, that's the oil board members. He used to be on the OPEC board. He was put in there, and literally months after this all went down, a treaty was put into place so the pipeline could go through Afghanistan. That seems very odd as well. The timing of it doesn't seem right. It seems like that is way, way off. But people will sit there and think, oh, it was definitely Taliban. No, the government had their hands in it. Because once the war started as well, Halliburton, all the different defense companies got involved. People were making money hand over fist from what happened there. If you don't think that there was a conspiracy behind it, if you don't think that there was something behind it that caused what happened on 9/11, you haven't done your homework. Go back and take a look at it. Let's see. Moon landing, I could talk about that. The shadows of the photos look off, but again, we can't really prove that one way or the other. They say that they can send a laser beam up to the moon and it shoots it back to us the distance. I would think that with the moon landing, there's a chance we might have made it there, but I can't tell you for sure. I just know the capsules that they went up there in were pretty much made of tin foil, aluminum foil. So if they were able to do that, the question I have then is why haven't we been able to go back? There's a radiation belt that's around the Earth that goes in between the moon and the Earth. And they're so concerned about the astronauts getting radiation going through the radiation belt. But yet, how did we do it in the 60s with aluminum foil? I mean, even the plans that were put together, the blueprints of the ships that they went up with, the Apollo missions, they've lost them. They don't know where they went. NASA. Again, that's a proven thing. They came out with a document saying they've lost the blueprints to it. Odd. There's people that don't even think that the moon is real. That's another conspiracy. Some people think it's holographic, that it's really not even real, that it's just a holograph in the, the governments are doing it to show that it's weird stuff like that. Some people think it's hollow, that there's a government or aliens that are controlling it from the inside, that it's hollow. The biggest one that I hear a lot about is government agencies being on the dark side of the moon where we can't see them. That we've actually gone up there and we've colonized some of the stuff up there and are doing things up there. I know you know of a lot of different movies that have been out where it's saying Nazis are on the dark side of the moon. It's kind of fun. Let's see here. The Hollow Earth. Have you ever heard of the Hollow Earth? The Hollow Earth is really interesting. There are reports that at each Arctic Circle there are holes that go inside the Earth, and it's called Middle Earth. And supposedly when NASA flies over the Arctic circles, supposedly they shut their blinds to where you can't see it, because if they did, you would see the hole that's in the Earth that goes into the Earth. Now, back in the day, I think it was the 50s, 60s, there are scientists that claim to have flown into these holes and seen a civilization that was actually living inside the earth, that there was people living inside of the earth, an actual civilization. Again, everything I'm saying right now is online. You can look it up. You can see that they're real scientists. You can definitely dig into it and see it. I'm just bringing it up, these different conspiracies, to interest you, to make you look at it and do some research. And what do you think? What do you think about these claims? Are they crazy? Is there some validity to them? Guess we'll find out at some point, I guess, in life. Contrails. You know those little white vapor trails that are behind planes as they're in the sky? There's definitely that going on, the conspiracy with that, where people think that there are vapor trails in the sky that contain chemicals that either control the weather, they're testing for chemical warfare, or it's population control, causing cancer and other deaths that happen. This one is a huge one. A lot of people are like, well, I see a plane in the sky with no vapor trails. Why are there contrails for these other planes and not these planes? So there's people out there that really believe that the government is using chemicals they're dumping chemicals into the sky behind these planes. Then the other one I wanted to touch on real quick is global warming. Now this one I find a little bit interesting. Temperatures are shifting all over the globe. And it's not just heat. It's colder. You know, you look at what happened in Texas a couple years ago, where they had that ice storm that went through, and then they got under below zero weather where it knocked out all their power grids down there and people were dying because of the cold. That was unheard of. That just doesn't happen there. I don't know. I struggle with it. I look at it as, is this really global warming, or are we going into an ice age? All along this earth, over all the thousands and thousands and millions and billions of years that this earth has been here, it has gone through all these different climate changes. Where it's warm, where it's cold. See, the difference is with global warming, they're saying that we're warming up and burning up, that it's going to end human life and the life on the earth as we know it. But it does not mean that after that happens, life won't spring back up again. Okay? There were dinosaurs, gone. Other civilizations, gone. We're here. Now, we can eventually be gone. And the earth will continue on. So is this really a global warming? Or is it another ice age that this is leading to? Who knows? The more the water rises, the more ice is being melted into the oceans. It will cool the oceans down, which will cool the streams, the jet streams as well, which, in my opinion, I'm not a scientist or anything of that nature, but I would also think it would cool air temperatures down to where there could be a lot of climate disruption, where it could be colder. That's just my opinion on it. Just my opinion. So those are some of the things I was just, all week long I was thinking about it. And you know how you get stuck on YouTube and you're watching stuff and you're just like, fall down that rabbit hole? That's what I did this week. I just started watching some of it, and it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. Now, there's one last thing I want to talk about. And I want to voice my opinion on it because it's upsetting. So, today I was at work and sitting there talking to my colleague, and this sentence came down for this Officer Potter, the one that shot the kid, where she thought she was shooting a taser and she was ending up shooting a handgun and killed him. Well, she got sentenced today here in Minneapolis, And, I mean, she killed the guy straight out. I mean, you would think the crime for it, when he had no weapon in that situation, it would be just. Well, the judge was very sympathetic to the police officer. The judge was very soft spoken and almost was like, "Oh, you poor thing," talking to this officer. And the judge ended up handing down a sentence of 16 months jail time with 8 months served at home with an ankle bracelet. So 24 months total with only 16 months in jail, which means if you look at serving 2/3 of that time, what, 10 months? 11 months? Plus, she's already been in jail for several months. And so that can be used as time served to go toward it. This woman got off with pretty much nothing for killing this man. And when the sentence went down, the family, of course, went into outrage. And the sister of this individual started making a scene in the lobby of the courthouse downtown here in Minneapolis. And because she was making a scene, they went and tackled her, put her on the ground, and arrested her. I'm sorry, but why? She's having an emotional response that is human. It is. It's an outrage that this sentence was so light. It was a slap on the wrist for murder. And then you have the gall, Minneapolis Police Department, to arrest the sister because she was upset. It was videotaped. You can go online and watch the arrest of her and what happened beforehand. She did not deserve to be arrested in that situation. They could have pulled her aside, detained her, and calmed her down. There was no reason for her to be arrested. I honestly, I don't know what's going on in the world that we live in today. I don't understand the hate and the utter this society today just does not care about each other anymore. And I just don't get it. I see it on the bus every day when I'm going to work. I see it with the clients that I work with and how they've been treated. Yeah, I get it. They're alcoholics or drug addicts. They've done their shit. They've done things that they're not proud of. But they're human beings. They deserve better for the hard work that they're putting in today. I'm doing the same thing that they're doing. I'm trying to live, trying to put the pieces back together again. We need to start treating each other better. This world is so angry and so hateful toward each other. People dying, people getting shot. Uptown here in Minneapolis used to be a wonderful place to go. It used to be the artsy, hipster part of town. The town where you go and they had good food and good shows to go to and art to look at and, just a great place to walk around on a wonderful summer night here in Minnesota and just enjoy living here. And now you can't even walk down uptown without being afraid you're going to get shot. It's out of control. And the police are not helping. At all. I was on the bus and I went by the police precinct where they had broke in this last couple years ago or a year and a half ago when we had the riots here. And they just completely destroyed that precinct, the police precinct there. And they've got it all fenced off. You can't get in there. And I look at that neighborhood, and it's my neighborhood. I used to shop at that Target. I used to walk all over there. I never felt afraid. I used to manage a Domino's right there. And it turned into a war zone. Things have got to change, people. All it takes is one of us to stand up, and then the next person stand up, and the next one stand up and say, enough's enough. We need to start getting an understanding of how we hurt people every day when we go out and we act the way that we do. Be mindful. Be mindful of how you treat others, about what your actions will do to others. We can do much better in this world than what we're doing right now. So please, when you go out tomorrow into the world and you're out around other people, let's get back to the golden rule. You treat others like you want to be treated. You want to be treated like an asshole and you want to keep acting like an asshole to people, then I'm going to treat you like one. And it's funny, when I do, people get mad at me. Well, if you're going to be an asshole, then I'm going to treat you like one. It's just the way it is. You're just mad because I'm calling you on your bullshit. People don't like that. They don't like to be called out for their behavior. Well, hell, I've had my behavior called out many a fucking time, and guess what? It's your turn now. If you're going to call me out, I'm going to start calling your bullshit out. Let's do the right thing. Let's start loving each other. Let's start helping each other. Let's make life the best life that we can make it. That's my words I have for you today. Other than that, everybody, I'm doing wonderful. Sitting on it around 80 days sober. I'm kicking ass out here. Doing everything I can to make my life the best life that I can make it. So, hope you have a great day, a great night whenever you're watching this or listening to this. I will have a video of this that I'm going to be putting up on YouTube as well, so you can definitely subscribe to me at my YouTube channel, The Recovery Atheist. You can find me in all the different platforms: Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music. I mean, you look, you can find me. Got tons of episodes on there, so if you like this, I guarantee you'll like the other ones. You can also find me on Facebook, under the Recovery Atheist group page. And you can email me at therecoveryatheist@gmail.com if you have any comments, if you have any topics that you want me to try to cover, try to bring up here in the future. Or if you're interested down the road in doing an interview with me, coming on the show and we can have a talk, just let me know. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I love all of you. Peace.